Again, that's because the tempo needs to increase. We need to take more of a risk, as you've mentioned. That's really, really important. But we need to take shots on goal. We've got to take shots. Somebody take a shot. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And once again, we're going to do a post-match podcast and review of the latest league game, which was away to Stoke City. Birmingham City lost the game 1-0, which is our second league defeat in a row and 3 in all competitions. And there's a lot to talk about in this podcast. I'm just going to take it straight over to Matt, really. I think disappointing is probably undervaluing the actual real issue here, isn't it, really?
I think a big word that comes to mind is frustration again, isn't it? You know, we say on this podcast, Dad, we absolutely do not mind losing a game of football in the Championship. You're going to get outplayed from time to time, but it's the way we've lost the last 3 games.
Yeah.
I think even in the first 10 minutes, you just knew Stoke wanted it more. They were more aggressive. They were more physical. We said in the pre-match video, Mark Robbins was going to set them up well, organised, compact. We knew what they were going to do. And I felt like we didn't really match that level of physicality. We kind of got bullied and lost battles across the pitch. And that's how you win games. You win games by winning your individual battles across the field, don't you? And we didn't quite step up and win our individual battles at Stoke. Yeah, that lack of aggression was really disappointing to see. But most importantly, Dad, Port Vale game, Leicester game, Stoke game, we could have been playing all 3 of those games for 2 weeks and we still wouldn't have scored.
No.
We're not creating enough chances. We're not good enough going forward at the moment. And again, I'm not going to overreact here. You know, we're still, I stand by it. We're a good team. Something needs to click and something needs to change. But going forward, we are really poor. We're not creating enough chances. We're not fast enough. You know, at any point in that game, apart from like the odd half chance, did we really look like scoring? No. I mean, that must have been the easiest game Johansson's ever had in goal, really.
Yeah, I think what's happened, Matt, and this is the thing that worries me, okay, is that we've become too predictable. You know, teams will know that all they need to do is high press us. And if they take the lead, they know that, you know, because of our, say, blunt front line, all they've got to do is win man for man and just block us, which is what Stoke did. I just feel it's a bit, you know, it's a bit too predictable in as much as, you know, if teams know know what we're going to do, it's easy for them to play against us. And there's no real change. So even when the substitutes come on, you know, there's no real difference. It's just a continuation of what's gone before. So something needs to change.
Odd substitution choices, in my opinion, as well, Dad.
Yes, yeah. I think Chris Davies will make substitutions to try and change the game. That's the whole point of them, but nothing changed. That's
but he took our most influential players off. I'd arguably say Patrick Roberts. Fair enough. No one painted themselves in glory yesterday, but you know, Laird looked quite good in attack. Patrick Roberts, when he got on the ball, looked dangerous at times. So I felt like where we were making a few moves, they came off.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really odd substitution choices, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know how you feel, Dad. You know, we've just had an international break. I thought we looked leggy. I thought like it looked like we'd played a game on the Friday evening, not had a week and a bit off. It looked like we looked tired.
And I asked the question after the final whistle. I asked myself the question: where's all the tactics and the goal scoring opportunities that were discussed after the Leicester game? Because Chris Davies identified to do work over the next 2 weeks on the training ground. So what actually happened? What difference was there? No shots on target. And if we obviously everybody's going to know these statistics anyway. 2 shots on target in the last 4 games. 2.
It's not good enough, is it?
2 shots on target. Now I have looked through the fixtures for this game week, and lots of teams have got 2s and 3s shots on target. There's a couple with 0. Us and Sheffield Wednesday got 0, but teams like Wrexham 7 on target. Coventry 8. There's one team as well. I think Ipswich has something like 12 shots on target, and these are the. At the end of the day, Matt, right? You're not going to win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, and therefore, if you don't have shots on goals, you ain't going to score goals if you're on the goal. And this is the type of thing that's going to have problems because last season we were winning games narrowly because we were able to, because we had a very, very strong defence. Our defence, in my opinion, doesn't look as strong as it did last season from what I've seen for the first few games. We do look like almost like strangers. I mean, I think the relationship between Neumann and Clara, they do look at odds, in my opinion. You know, I think they give too much space to the forwards, particularly of Stoke. And let's not sort of sugarcoat this. Stoke should have been 3 or 4 up at half time. I think they had some good chances where we basically just let them through. A couple of good saves from Allsop and a few misses, but it's disappointing, isn't it?
It is disappointing. Definitely work to be done, Dad. But I think as a fan base, you know, we felt like this against Charlton, the Northampton draw, Shrewsbury, Bolton. We had that same feeling as we have done this week, haven't we? But the thing is, we're at a higher level now. We're going to get found out quicker. Yeah. Teams are going to punish you more. You know, teams are well organised, better set up. better pace, they'd catch you on the break faster, all these different things in the Championship. You're going to get caught out a lot quicker. And we got caught out again, I'd say, this weekend. As you said, Dad, very predictable. In fact, you've almost read my notes in terms of, too easy to defend, too predictable. It's almost like the creative license of our forward line's just been completely cut. I don't know whether that's instructions from Davies or whether that's just them, not having the courage and the bravery to take their man on and create a chance. I don't know what that is, that click there. Again, we're not going to know that because we're not behind the scenes, but something isn't right. We're not testing keepers. We're not shooting from range. We're not shooting from close up. We're getting the balls in the box. No one's home. Yeah. Just something isn't there, is it, in that final third? And just to address it, because you've popped it up organically, Dad, and I was going to mention this myself, and I agree, Clara and Neumann isn't quite clicked yet, is it? And I stand by this so passionately. A left-footed centre half, a left-footed left back or left winger, left side of centre midfielder, whatever it is, it gives you balance across the team. And I'm not saying that Clara and Neumann can't work this out and we can't develop and get better at centre back. And by the way, it isn't a disastrous thing. It's an observation that isn't working at the moment for me. Clara doesn't look quite comfortable playing that left side of centre back. And for me, Neumann is just taking a little bit of time to settle into English football, isn't he? I don't think he looks 100% comfortable yet. Yeah. And I agree that is just a little bit off. And I think the foundations in which we had our campaign last year in League One, it was off a solid defence, wasn't it? We weren't conceding many goals, especially post Shrewsbury in that November game. But it's definitely work to be done, Dad. But I think again, I'm not disasterising it or catastrophising it, but I think we need a plan B and C when plan A isn't going to plan. And often plan A just isn't working in the Championship at the moment.
No, and what's disappointing is that we one game, but if you can have one bad game. It could be just everybody had an off day. Of course. You could have those games where you've hit the post, hit the bar, created chances, just not gone in, and you end up losing those types of games. But this is not what's happening. So the last three games, what we've seen is a pattern. That's what concerns me. The pattern needs to change because we need to find a way of being much more positive in that final third. It's okay if we concede a goal if we score two, but we don't even look like doing it now. The default seems to be sideways and backwards. So even when we get in attacking position, and what really needs to change as well, when we do get in threatening positions, we need to up the tempo.
100%.
We slow down and then we end up drawing it back. So we allow the opposition team just to get loads and loads of men behind the ball, and then you're up against a brick wall all over again. We need that incisive passing. It just doesn't look right to me.
Also, Dad, sorry to interrupt you, but it's really prominent on this point. When you watch the good teams, when the good teams go forward, even if they've just caught you on the break, they swarm. They go up in 5s and 6s and 7s, and then they get people in the box. And fair enough, the caveat to that is you're going to get caught out at the back. But it's worth taking that risk sometimes to get a goal, surely, because what are we doing? We're losing games by not scoring any chances. But we need to get people and bodies in the box.
Well, we're not creating chances.
We're not creating chances because I feel like when we do break, when we do go forward, we just don't have the numbers, or we're almost too cautious. And then the chance just completely nullifies itself. Often we allow teams to get back into shape. So if we break the line or we play it from the back and we're going forward, we're so slow. Stoke have chance to reshape and just sit back in the position that they were. The whole point in playing out from the back and having that fast-paced tempo is to catch players out of position.
Yeah, I mean, you've said it. Stoke probably won't get an easier game this season, I don't think.
But Johansson won't get an easier game, the goalkeeper.
Yeah, well, did he actually have to make a save? I can't remember one real threat. That tells its own story anyway. But the other thing as well, Matt, is that we now see this pattern, and I know that you get this range of opinions from the complete disaster and everything's falling off, right down to let's give it all time, it'll all work, and everything in between. But we're fans, we can see with our eyes what's happening. Mm-hmm. We see it on the pitch, and I think based upon those last three, I know that one of them was a cup game against Port Vale. I think we need to readjust our expectations. If we're going to play like that, we're going to be struggling down the lower end of the table in the Championship unless something changes, because that type of football is not going to get you anywhere near the top half. No. If it continues. Now we know that we've got good quality players because we know obviously from the signings that we've made that they come with good stats, some of them, but that makes no difference unless you get them playing comfortable in their own positions in the right way. Yeah. And I think that's the key that Chris Davis needs to find is what is the best formation and getting players playing to their strengths, and rather than. Let's use
imposing ourselves. We need to impose ourselves on the game. Well, I knew from the first 10 minutes of this game, not that we were in trouble or that we were going to lose it, but Stoke wanted it more. Yeah. They were more aggressive. They were more physical. They were imposing themselves in the game. I thought when they scored, it wasn't as if I thought, oh, that was unjust. It was like that was coming.
No, they had chances before.
They were in the ascendancy, weren't they? They were coming at us, and as I said, we didn't. impose ourselves on the game. We're not threatening enough. We're not aggressive enough. We're not, in these sorts of games that, as I said before, you either go on the attack and run the risk of conceding, and of course, then you run the risk of losing the game. But we're losing the games anyway, and not creating chances in that process. It is so frustrating.
We're not the most exciting team to watch, are we?
No. But last year we were getting results, so it didn't matter. But I think it's such a key point. We're at a higher level now.
Yeah, you're not going to get away with the ones we did. And we came away from a lot of games. Matt thinks, we did well to get a win out of that game in League One, where we'd won by the odd goal, or we'd just about sort of got ourselves over the line. That won't be as prominent in the Championship because the teams won't be as forgiving as they are in League One. Well, one thing I do want to address as well is team selection as well. I love Alex Cochrane, and everybody, look back at the previous podcast. I think he's a good defender, but he's not good against pace. And Manhoff, their right back, absolutely destroyed him. He basically went round him so many times. And I think when we're coming up against a team with a pacey right side, we need to put somebody else in that position because what Cochrane's really good at is a good man-to-man marker. And he's good at disrupting the play. But when he's got someone lightning pace against him, he struggles desperately. And
it was like a Sula at Newcastle, Jumbo Sula.
Yeah.
He destroyed him.
We've seen that before when a couple of teams in League One, when they had pace as well. I can't remember exactly the teams, but I remember a few times thinking, he's struggling here for pace. So when we are coming up against teams, in fact, actually, that's going to be most teams in the Championship. Maybe we need to be considering putting Laird out there and putting Bright on the...
Also, Laird, he gives us a bit more of an attacking option as a fullback. He gets up the pitch a little bit more aggressively. He's got, pace on him. He can take it past someone. So I think Laird's a decent option in a game where, as I said, they're going to have a pacey right winger. But what I will say on that is if you're going to put Laird at right back against a pacey right winger, it does give him a bit of a crutch. We saw it against Leicester because they had, what's his name again, the guy that scored on the right for Leicester? Fatawu. Because they had Fatawu, you noticed Laird hung back a little bit more. So it does hamstring him a little bit when they do have a fast right winger. But you're right, I'm not excusing it. I thought the first 15 minutes, Manhoef got past Cochrane 3 or 4 times quite easily.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was Cochrane, usually quite intelligent. He knows not to lunge in or he knows to hold back and he's quite physical at times. He's tight on the player. But he was lunging in and he was just getting done every time. And they did a job on him, Stoke. I think they realised that and just kept coming down their right-hand side, didn't they? And they're going to. That's exactly what you want Blues to do.
Other teams will do that. Other teams will watch that game and say, okay, just run at Cochrane. Just run at him because they've
all in behind him.
And again, it's a shame having to talk about him like that, but all we're doing is just reporting on what we saw and what everybody else saw. And it's clear as day that he got done for pace
we both love Cochrane.
On numerous occasions. But that is just a fact. It's a question for you as well. Do you think Chris Davies will change formation?
No.
I don't either.
I think he's stubborn in that way. I think because he could have changed it a couple of times last season and he didn't.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't change formation, he needs to change the style of play because the pounding the rock at this level isn't quite working. We're going to come back to it again. Almost sound like a broken record. Pace, passing, shifting the passing, 1-2s, being braver with their something in our forward play needs to change. Whether it's formation, whether it's instructions from him, something needs to change.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that because I'm pretty certain, like you said, that Chris Davies will stick with the 4-2-3-1. But I would like to see a 3-5-2 with three, with Clara. In the middle, Newman on the right, and Robinson on the left.
So it'd be Robinson on the left, Clara in the middle, Norman on the right.
And so 3, and then you could have 2 flying wing backs, which would give you your 5 or your 3, and then you could do the team, but that would give you 2 up front as well.
I think we need 2 up front because we're clearly not creating enough with 1 up front.
I don't think that'll happen, but I mean, if I was Chris Davies now, I would be looking at the system as well as the players and thinking, well, actually, have I got players that suit this system more?
Also, Dad, you know where I'd be looking at as well? I'd be looking at putting Jack Robinson or Cashin at left side of centre-back, maybe. Left foot.
Instead of...
So Clara shifts back over, Neumann has a couple of games on the bench, and maybe, again... Please don't take this out of context or blow this out of proportion. I'm not saying that Neumann and Clara are having disastrous games. I think Clara's arguably our best player. I just think there isn't something quite right there. And do you remember against Exeter there when he put Ben Davies, he put himself on the pitch. He put Ben Davies at left side of centre-back. It just made us so much stable. Balanced, And I think the left foot has a big impact in that.
Yeah. I like I say, it's down to Chris Davies.
Maybe Jack Robinson.
And I know that quite a few Blues fans have criticised Chris Davies, and I think that to be fair, the manager has to take the good and the bad criticism. When we do well, then they get the plaudits, and when we have a couple of defeats, I think they can expect to take a little bit of stick. But I think for him,
But there has been some wild overreaction
Yeah, yeah.
in my opinion, and
Yeah.
everyone's entitled to their opinion. But
I think so too. But what I would say is that he's only sort of, this is his first season in the Championship, and I think this is where we'll see what he's really made of.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give him more time. And I think in terms of his adaptation to the Championship himself, and I have every confidence that he'll get this right.
I agree.
Chris Davies.
Oh, Dad, we're just commenting on the game and
Yeah.
what we've seen for the past 3 games. Let's not blow this out of proportion in the context of saying that Chris Davies needs to go, or
No.
we're talking massive amounts of change here. We're not. It's just, in my opinion, it's a click moving forward.
No, I that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm supporting Chris Davies
Yeah,
here,
same,
not criticising, because I think we do need to give him more time to adapt, to understand, and to change the team formation as well.
On that note, Dad, and I completely back you up. I completely agree. Chris Davies needs a bit of time, and I think he will get this right. I do.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we have Tom Wagner and Knighthead who aren't messing about. They're going to be ruthless, aren't they, in this process?
Yeah.
So I don't want to become that club that changes their manager every week and every month. That would be the worst scenario because you never get settled. Let's not become that club. I think, Chris Davies is going to get this right. He needs a little bit more time. Again, we've had a lot of turnover again this summer.
Yeah.
It took us a bit of time in League One to get firing.
Yeah.
Look at Ipswich in the Championship. I mean, fair enough, they beat Sheffield United 5-0 at the weekend, but they're not firing just yet.
Yeah.
Southampton arguably aren't firing just yet. Leicester aren't firing just yet. So, it takes time just to get yourself firing off the mark. And by the way, that isn't me shrugging this under the carpet. I'm a fan. I've been at these games. I appreciate we're not creating enough chances. There is a problem. It's just not the nuclear option then when we need to clean house or get rid of managers. It's not that kind of problem.
I think, Matt, if the team were scoring goals, I think we scored the 5th least goals in the whole of the Championship. We've got 4 goals in 5 games. There's only a few teams below us that have scored less than that or equal that. So we're right down there in terms of goals scored. If we had more of a goal threat and we were scoring more goals, it will put less of a focus on the defence because we would be scoring goals and probably picking up points and winning games.
Fair point.
But I think at the moment the issue is really we're not scoring goals.
It's not even scoring goals, Dad. We're not even creating chances.
Yeah.
We're not even causing a team much sweat.
Yeah.
Defensively, it's too easy.
What I don't like as well, mate, you go forward, you work hard, few good passes, you get into the threat and do it, and then it ends up back at our goalkeeper.
Back also, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't get that. Again, that's because the tempo needs to increase. We need to take more of a risk, as you've mentioned. That's really, really important. But we need to take shots on goal. We've got to take shots. Somebody take a shot. How many times Dimmy had one that he sort of mishit. We had a couple of opportunities during the game where he could have had a shot. And defenders nowadays will just close you down. That's just what you just get. You give a defender a sniff of the ball, they're going to close you right down.
We said, Dad, Mark Robbins at Stoke, he's putting his identity at Stoke, he's setting up his team, and we knew the principles that he follows: compactness, organised defence, physicality, determination, wanting it. He gets the best out of his team and his players, and he's doing a good job. And they did exactly that. Yeah. But the problem is we're not giving them anything to think about.
No.
It was really disappointing. And I think another thing, Dad, which I've not really seen, because I was proud of the boys last season, fighting, backing each other up, aggression, physicality. We're missing a trick in that regard as well. I think we're quite a small team and we're not very aggressive. There was nobody, like Clara's our captain, and don't get me wrong, love Clara, and he's the one that rallied. But where's that aggression down the spine? I don't see it.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, coming back to my first opening statement on the podcast, it was like Stoke wanted it more, and that was a bit disappointing to watch.
I mean, clearly, there's lots of work to do all over the pitch. It's not just a defence problem or a midfield problem. It's the whole team. The way we play as a team. I think right from the back, I think Allsop makes some really good saves. But in my opinion, if you've got a good defence in front of you, he should be making one save a match. If his defence are a decent defence in front of him, but he made a few good saves. I think his distribution was awful again. Loads of times he kicked the ball out, so I think that needs to be...
Again, I'm not blaming it. I think it was quite windy and wet, weren't it? By the way, you're a professional footballer. Yeah. I'm just making a point. It doesn't help sometimes, does it, Dad? And sorry to interject again, but it is important, again, to the point that you were saying about Allsop and sort of coming back to that. I mean, their goal set pieces. Again, Dad, I said on the previous podcast, didn't I? Attacking set pieces and defending set pieces. We're underwhelming attacking them, and we look poor defending them. I don't know what's going on. Set pieces
we look exceptionally vulnerable on when we have set pieces against us. That's corners, even long throws. Even long throws you classify as a set piece, and I mean.
But why was Laird and Stansfield marking their biggest player? I think Chris Davies is doing kind of like a zone defence. It's not a man-to-man defence. So I guess that's where your Stansfield and your Laird would stand. But you got to play a little bit of common sense, boys. Come on, you can't be having Laird and Stansfield against the biggest player. And also, they had a man on Allsop, And this is a typical tactic. If you're attacking a corner, you stick a man on the keeper because you try and block his vision, you try and stop him from moving. But as a defensive team,
Put one of our players
you
on
put a
him.
player on, you push him off to protect Allsop a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was just such a poor goal to concede.
Oh, it was
really,
awful.
really poor.
It was awful. And again, I don't know how many of our goals we've conceded off set pieces, but I mean, to be fair, our defence ain't bad. If you look at how many goals we've conceded, we're okay in terms of like where we are in that sort of position in the league. But you don't win games based upon what you can, there's no medal at the end of it. So you've got the best defence.
No.
But what matters really, and I was a little bit disappointed with Chris Davis's comments in the post-match interview. Focus on a lot of positives. I think managers do that generally, but I'd love a manager to come out and be bluntly honest about the game. I know that a lot of Blues fans will probably listen to what we're saying, and a lot will agree, some will disagree, and that's absolutely fine. We have a responsibility at this podcast to actually report exactly what we see and exactly what we feel, not give our opinion based upon what we think everybody else does. And if people disagree with it, that's fine. But what I would say is that when these managers come out and say things like, "Oh, the positive," and that, and give effectively the wrong opinion of the game, because it was a 1-0 defeat, but it could have been more. It was a narrow defeat on paper, but actually it wasn't. It was quite wide, really, when you look at the difference in the teams and the chances. But good performances, possession, don't win games. All fans care about is getting points on the board. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Don't matter, we lost and we played really, really well. That gives us 0 points. And that's what we've got to change. Even if we win scrappy matches and win them,
Dad, Ipswich
we'll
scored
points.
5, Stoke scored 1. They both only get 3 points at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Those sets of fans will be just as happy as each other that they got 3 points. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter, Dad, whether you score 90 plus 6 and it comes off the referee's head. Who cares?
Yeah.
If you're winning games. But we're not. The thing that is making me not worried. I'm not worried. That is the wrong word. But something that's making me a little bit wary moving forward, I guess, is that lack of chance creation.
Yeah.
How is that gonna change? Because that's not something that changes overnight.
Yeah.
That takes time. And again, I have no doubt we can get there, but I think we're in for a patient season this season.
Yeah, and when I said earlier in the podcast, Matt, that I believe that we need to reset our expectations, because playing like this, and I'm hoping it's going to change, and I think we've got the players that can change this, right? I do think we've got a decent squad for the Championship, but it's all right saying that, but we have to make it work. But if we continue to play the same way we have in the last 3 games. I would also argue against Oxford. We won that game. We won it 1-0, but there were patches in that game when we weren't brilliant either. But no one cares about that because it was 3 points and we won.
Exactly.
But I think if we carry on playing like this, I mean, you can forget any challenge for playoffs at all. And in fact, you'd be looking at more over your shoulder playing like that if you carry on like that, because we're not creating chances. Therefore, we're not going to score goals. Therefore, we're not going to pick up points. Therefore, we're going to plummet down the table. So it's just obvious what's going to happen.
What I'd say, Dad, and by the way, I know your intention isn't to be negative, and I don't think that sounded massively negative. But what I would say is, just to counter that, and some of the fans and some of the comments I've been reading, is the raw ingredients are there. It's in the pot. It's just not coming together in the right way just yet. And I think, again, like when Chris Davies talks in his post-match interviews and he says about he does reference it. He referenced it against Leicester in the post-match that we weren't aggressive enough in the final third. Against Stoke, he did say, I agree with you, Dad, he did make that look way more positive than it was or needed to be. But he spoke about not creating enough chances. So he clearly knows the problems, but that takes time on the training pitch to develop doesn't it?
He had 2 weeks, because he said that against in his post-match against Leicester. That was 2 weeks international break. And I didn't see, in fact, we didn't look any different in terms of our attacking threat. The one thing I will say, the positive, though, I thought Patrick Roberts looked good in spells. He looked more positive going forward. I think Ethan Laird as well, he got into a few good positions, but he put a few crosses over, and then this is decision making. Crosses went over, there's no one there.
Exactly.
And the crosses going flying over.
Because we don't go forward in numbers.
Yeah.
Because we're too scared of conceding or getting caught on the counter. We don't commit anyone forward.
Where's the anticipation?
Exactly.
I think what happens is, I think we've got such a cautious approach that we don't want to concede. And this is, I'm going to sort of mention something that no Blues fans are going to like remembering, but this is why we got relegated from the Premier League, because Steve Bruce was so fixed on defending that we lost our ability to counter and score loads of goals.
Long balls up to Heskey, weren't it? Remember?
And that's
painful to watch.
That's what got us relegated from the Premier League, and that's what needs to change here. If your first or your default is to be cautious, and it has to be sometimes, because
there's a balance.
Yes, there has to be sometimes, but not all the time. So when we're going forward, we want to see more positive, higher tempo, and we want to see more players going forward, and we want to see. I don't mind conceding a couple of goals if we got the ability to score a load of goals
Barry
ourselves.
Fry theory.
Well, not quite, not quite on that level. But do you know what I mean? I think if you're
Start seeing some 5-4s and some 4-3s. And
so basically, the minute you go 1-0 down, obviously clearly in order to win the game, you've got to score twice. Right now, we know if we go behind, we're going to struggle to get back into it at the moment with the way that we're playing. So we've got to find a way of scoring goals, and that will allow a bit of pressure off the defence a little bit. Because if you're 2-0 up, you can afford one.
I saw Blues posted a little bit earlier, Dad. This is at on the day of recording. It was Blues when we played West Brom in 2022, and we won 3-2, and it was a Scott Hogan hat-trick, and all the comments below were, "Oh, do you remember the days we used to pass it forward, chance creation, 3 goals in one game? Those days ago." Yeah, they were joking around, and it was all tongue-in-cheek, all a bit silly. But when you're watching videos of Scott Hogan banging a hat-trick, and you reflect on the Stoke game, it's like, oh my word.
I know, and I just think the whole thing was disappointing and really flat, and I think it's
3 games now, Dad, I'd say that theme has carried through.
Yeah, and we've had all this momentum. We've been used to winning, haven't we? And suddenly, but I think this is just a reality check for us, to be honest, and it puts us actually where we really need to, our mindsets as Blues fans need to be, that this should be a season of stabilisation. Yeah, if we can go on a good run and we can, accumulate enough points, then why not have a playoff push? But those 3 games have actually showed us in those performances we're miles off at the moment.
Agreed.
And absolutely no way that's going to happen based upon that. And if we don't turn this around quite quickly, we could find ourselves, going further and further down the table. And we know what happens when that happens. Negativity comes in, you get in this losing culture, and the whole thing changes, doesn't it? So we Chris Davis and the boys now need to put into performance against Swansea, who are a very good team, by the way.
Yeah.
And we need to start to pick up points now, and get ourselves back into at least where I don't even mind losing games. I don't like losing, but I don't mind losing games if we've had a go.
You have a crack, 100%.
If we've had a go and you feel like, that was unlucky, you know what?
You hit the post, you miss a penalty,
the referee decision,
disallowed goal, offside goals, handballs. Who cares? As long as you're actually having a crack. At the minute, I feel like we're too scared to even attack.
Yeah,
it's weird.
There's something
it's
not
kind of
right.
strange to watch.
There's something not right, and Chris Davis needs to, and his team need to sort it out.
Just one last final comment from me, Dad. I thought down the wings, Stoke were very good as well. Sorba Thomas and Manhoof, I thought, caused us problems pretty much all game long.
We said that in the preview video.
We did say that in the preview video, but it was again, even though you say it and you warn people, it's still disappointing to see, isn't it? And I thought they were fair play to them, good on the wings. Mark Robbins is very compact. He's got them set up well. I don't think they're going to be sort of a playoff and above team, Stoke, but they'll be top half of the table for sure. I mean, they could make a playoff push, who knows? But I think they're going to be a nuisance for a lot of teams.
Yeah, it'd be a tough place to go.
Yeah,
Stoke,
definitely.
But disappointing. And there's no point in hiding that. We are not here to give opinions on what we've read or what we see. This is actually what we genuinely think, and it's not a disaster. We're 5 games into the Championship, but that's what we think about the last couple of performances. And in our opinion, as you can probably guess, they're just not good enough. But we'd love we can probably guess a lot of your opinions, but we want to know your opinions. So add comments below and let us know your thoughts on the game. Stoke fans as well. We always encourage opinions from fans from the away team as well. So if you've got any opinion on the game about yourself, your own team or Blues, then put your comments below. All we ask is that the comments are respectful. We don't allow any abusive language or aggressive behaviour or anything insulting or anything like that. But anything else, then please feel free to add your comments. As always, hope you liked the podcast. And if you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you'd like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there, and you'll see the handles appearing on the screen right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you'd like to, then hit that big red subscribe button. And if you hit that little bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get a notification every time myself and Matt put a new podcast out. So that's it from this for this podcast. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.